Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Growth Hacks and Marketing Chats.
I'm Lisa.
And I'm Abby, and it's so great to be back with all of you guys.
Yep.
So today we are going over Chapter 5.
Yes.
Yes, Chapter 5, Sales, the Art of Turning Prospects into Gold, in our book, Marketing Alchemy Unlocked. If you haven't already, go ahead and grab yourself a copy from our Amazon.
Yes. We've covered several things. We've covered target market,
How to find it.
We've covered the marketing message.
How to create it.
We've covered lead generation. I don't know if I'm in order there.
Capturing leads. Yeah, we've basically covered everything that you do from the start. You figure out who your target audience is. You figure out
your messaging,
the message that you want to send to them. You figure out where they're going to be, and you figure out how to
capture the leads.
Yes.
So we're going to be working on Chapter 5, which means you'll have 5 sections filled out by now. That's basically halfway of having a complete marketing plan ready to go. So a lot of times on this section that we're going to be working on, there's a lot of back and forth about sales and marketing. Those are two very separate things.
Right.
But they work together and they should be hand in hand. They shouldn't be competing with one another. They are basically something that you need to as a marketer, understand the sales process, because it's quite different from the marketing process. But they're so intertwined that it's really important to understand them together and to put how that process, what the touch points are going to be for your target, for your customer. And to have that be a planned, executed part of your strategy.
Yes. We see it a lot where people don't know how to break up their sales team, their marketing team, or even understand that they need both of those in order.
And sometimes those two groups are fighting each other.
Yeah, and when they should be working together.
100%. So we're going to go over a little bit about some sales techniques and what you should be thinking about as you're doing sales. If you're an entrepreneur, a solopreneur doing it by yourself, then this is just a section where it'll help you to understand that process. Okay, you've got your lead, and now you're turning that lead into a prospect. And so what are some of the tips and techniques that you can do for that?
Yeah. So one of the things that's really important is to build a rapport with your customer base and with the people that you're trying to sell to. And there are 3 different ways that we put in the book on how you can do that. And one of them, the biggest one, is probably active listening. I feel like we all know that person that calls you, that emails you, that texts you, and just doesn't really care about you and just wants to sell you this thing, and you can feel it. People can always feel it when someone isn't actually listening to what they're saying. So paying attention to what your prospects and what your possible customer base probably needs, what this person actually desires, and then being able to respond effectively and appropriately to those desires is going to take you a long way in building rapport.
Right. Also, being able to make that prospect feel comfortable, and the technique for that is mirroring them and matching their energy. So a good salesperson understands that you're trying to make that person feel comfortable, and so mirroring their actions, even how they're sitting. If you have somebody that's really, really calm and you're coming in there with all this energy, it might not make them feel comfortable enough to listen to what you have to say. So a good salesperson understands that and tries really hard to mirror the energy of the person that they're talking with.
Right, and while you're there, don't start asking questions. Try to find common ground that you and this person share. Where do you have any experiences or interests or values that align with this person? And then that can make them feel more comfortable too. Like, okay, well, me and this guy, we both like golfing, or we're both really into our church, or whatever it is. To find that common ground so that this person can almost feel like a friend, essentially. Right. And they want to talk to you about their needs and desires and what they want.
And I think sometimes that sounds a little like you're being tricky, but you're really not. You have to understand that you have something that this person needs to better themselves or their life in some way. And these are ways for you to get them to actually listen and to feel comfortable about hearing the information that you have to give them.
Yeah.
And a good way of thinking about that is how do you ask questions?
Mm-hmm.
How do you dig deeper into understanding? Because sometimes people might not be suited for your service or product, and that's also something that you have to uncover. And so, how do you dig deeper and find those kinds of things out? And one of those is by asking open-ended questions when you're having meetings with people or interacting with people, because that allows them to expand and talk more. So if I know a closed-ended question, as you know, is a yes or no question. It doesn't go anywhere. Yes, no, and then you're kind of like digging. You really don't want that. Sometimes you want that. Sometimes you want to be direct in that way. But when you're trying to uncover information, you want to ask open-ended questions that allows the person to expand on the answer.
Yeah. You also want to dig deeper and figure out very specific issues or concerns that this person might have. And those are probing questions where you're really trying to understand their underlying motivations for why they might have contacted you and your company, why they may be looking for something like this, why you think they might be looking for something like this, and really trying to get to the bottom of this. Like she said, this all does sound a little schemy, I guess.
But I was going to say manipulative, but it's not.
No, it's
if you do it right.
It's understanding people. It's understanding the psychology of people.
Yes.
And we're not like very big on really answering questions from people and even talking on the phone or doing things like that. But there's nothing like the moment that you start to really show them that you do care, and asking questions like this show you that you do care, as long as you're not pushy.
Well, as long as you do care.
And you do care.
I mean, as long as at the core of you is you are really trying to see if this person is suited for what you have to offer them. And this is a way for you to find out. It's a way for them to find out as well. One other technique is providing them with hypotheticals, like, how having them imagine what your product or service can help in the future with, like a situation that might happen, and giving them a hypothetical situation to see if your product or service can help them.
Yeah, it's very important, and it can be done in so many different ways. But, sales is it's very hands-on, 100%. So this is kind of stuff that you learn over time, you practice. There are obviously people who are born salesmen, and there's people that have to work a little bit hard at it. But at the end of the day, we're all using the same techniques, and it's all getting us to the same places as long as we genuinely care about our customers. Your customers are basically like an extension of your family. And if you're not just a solopreneur and you have a couple people that work for you, your sales team should feel that same way. When you work in that, you should feel like the customers are the family, even if it's not your own business.
So then once you get to understanding the customer's needs and you kind of dive in, then it's about presenting your product and service and offering the solutions that you have. And there's a few techniques in doing that as well.
Yeah, so you can start off by focusing on the benefits, show how the service that you're offering or the product that you're selling can solve what the customer you were talking to, what they said that their problem initially was. What is their desire? And the great part about this step is you've already done all the pieces where you're honing in on them specifically. You're not just trying to sell to the masses here, you're trying to sell to this one person. So this one person says that their issue is blank. It's not what all the other issues could be, it's this. So you're like, okay, so say this happens, and this is how what we are selling can help you with that. So focusing on the benefits, because people like to hear about all the good things that a product or service are going to put money into, what we'll be able to do for them.
And the other thing is you should also rehearse and list in your, for yourself what all the possible objections might be. Because this helps you to address those objections ahead of time and find solutions for that as well.
Yeah, it's like if you've ever taken debate class, you have to know both sides to be able to talk to both sides. You need to know what are they possibly going to ask me that I'm going to have to answer.
Right. And I mean, you don't want to get shut down by being off guard, so think about all the different things that might, are they going to say, oh, I don't have enough money for that, or whatever the objection will be. That way you can come back with a solution to that as well, or an answer to that as well.
Mm-hmm. And then one big one is to share success stories, show testimonials, show reviews, show case studies where the product or service that you're selling was beneficial to people, where people actually liked it, where they would come again, they'd buy again, they would use the service again. Those types of things are great because people love to listen to other people. People are not usually keen on listening to businesses that are promoting their own product, but they're definitely interested in hearing how someone who's already bought or used the product or service, how they feel about it. That's definitely a big one.
And then you're going to make sure that when you're doing the sales, when you're in the sales process, is that you have a good understanding of closing. Asking for the sale is really important. And we have listed here, we're not going to go into each one of these, but we have listed here the types of ways in which you could ask for that close. But what we really want you to get across is ask for the close, like ask for the sale. Say, how can we, close this, or where are you ready to sign, or when can we start installation, or whatever. It's just don't walk away without at least asking for the sale.
Yeah, it's like a CTA when you're doing a marketing campaign. You need the call to action. You need the person to know what it is that you're hoping they do by the time they're done looking at this landing page or newsletter or whatever. It's the same thing. You're having a conversation with this person and it needs to be finished. So where is it going? What is the next step here? And then once you figured out the close, then it's all about the follow-up. Mm-hmm. And the really beautiful thing about a follow-up is that it's makes people remember you quicker, and it makes them feel like, oh, you did care about me, mm-hmm. right? They don't feel like it was, it was just you really trying to sell them, because you're coming back and you genuinely want to know. You want to if they bought the product, if they didn't, if they gave you the time of day, you want to say thank you for doing that. You want to ask for any feedback that they could give you. You want to stay in touch with your prospective customers, or the customers that you were able to gain, and that way they can also feel like a part of the family.
Yeah, so that's all part of it, following up with your customers, because you want them to be customers for life. You want them to keep coming back. You want them to refer. So following up is extremely important. And then the next section that kind of goes along the lines with marketing, with sales, is customer service. So if you're a solopreneur, you are all of these things, right? If you have employees, one of the beautiful things about marketing is in the marketing plan, you get to set up the touch points in sales. And how does that look? You help the salespeople address what the objections might be. You help them through this process. But the other thing is that when they call in and there's a customer service person or the customer service situation, you get to add this into the marketing plan. It's part of the plan, which means what happens when that customer calls in and they have a problem? What does that customer service rep get to do to solve that problem? How far do they get to go? Some companies, they can't do anything, and you have to go to the higher ups, for example, to get a credit or a refund. Mm-hmm. And that can be frustrating for some customers to have to wait, or they don't get their situation addressed right away. So what kind of power will you give to your employees? It's part of marketing, because we're trying to cultivate the most important person in your business, your customer. And how does that translate when they call? And what is that feeling when they go through your business? What does it look like?
Right. It's also important to your business, because if you are trying to grow and you are trying to expand, and you have this hold on what happens if there is a complaint or an objection, then things don't get done as fast as they could be, and as fast as they could be getting done. And even if somebody calls to complain and does want a refund or something, if the process is smooth, if the person they first talked to was able to help them immediately with whatever it was, then they are more than likely to possibly think about coming back in the future.
Yeah.
Just maybe either this wasn't the time or it didn't work out this time, but won't be a negative taste in their mouth for your company.
Right.
They will be still talking about it, like, it didn't work for me, but maybe it'll work for you, kind of thing. So that's why it's important, and you just don't want to hold on too strong to every little piece of your business.
No, you want the touch points within the company to be smooth and to be a good experience for the customer. Because yes, we'll remember that we're trying to create raving fans, and if something goes wrong, let's say something broke, or something didn't work out, and they still want it, but they want that solution. They want a solution there. Your customer service reps need to be given some line of okay to say, sure, no problem, I'm going. I can't say that for every business, but a lot of successful businesses allow their employees to have a certain amount of freedom when it comes to up to a certain dollar amount or whatever, to okay certain things so that those processes can be done faster. And the point we're trying to make here in this is make that part of your plan. Make that part of your marketing plan. What does that look like in your company? How are you training your staff? Does everybody have the same story? Does everybody understand that your customers are coming first and that this is how we treat them? This is all part of the plan so that everybody in your organization is trained to operate in a certain way, knowing what your plan, your vision for the company is. There's several, I can't think of the companies now, but there's several companies that do give their frontline workers, some leniency towards being able to make the customer have the best experience they possibly can. And the companies that have that happen to be among the biggest. So it used to be Zappos. I don't even know if Zappos is, I think Amazon bought Zappos or something like that. But they have that, and there's different companies where they have, this really great customer service situations and experience.
I mean, even Amazon, it's so easy to get a hold of an agent if you can't, like if you've gone past the 30 days that you had to return an item, and it broke like on the 31st day that you had the item, and then you have to contact the customer service. You explain the situation, and they will fix it for you. They'll send you a new one, or they'll give you your money back. Mm-hmm. And it's all about just training your team appropriately to be able to know what to do in situations, and to give them the tools that they need for when anything might come up at any point.
Yeah. So use this. So as I said, this needs to be part of the marketing plan. What does this look like for you? And just, go ahead to section 5 of the workbook and write that down, jot that down. What does it look like? If you're by yourself, how are you going to move forward in that? And if you have employees, do they all understand what what a customer's experience should be when they come into the office? There's nothing worse than, not everybody operating and you don't know who you're going to get. And this person, because if somebody gives a review, Yelp review, they're reviewing the whole experience, based off of maybe one person who doesn't know what they're supposed to be doing when a customer comes in.
Right.
And that's on you. That's on the owner. So everybody should be behaving in a certain way, should greet people in a certain way. What does that look like for you and your organization? That should go in section 5.
Just build rapport, ask the right questions, present the solution, close the deal, and follow up. So thank you guys again for coming this week. If you haven't already, go ahead and grab yourself a copy of our workbook. The link for the workbook, the YouTube video, the podcast, the social media sites is in the description below. Mm-hmm. Be sure to follow, subscribe, like, comment, share this with your friends. Shout us out, and we'll be more than happy to to shout you out as well. We are just so excited to have you all here. So thank you guys so much for another week and for coming, and DM us if you need anything.
Absolutely. Make sure if you have a question, we're here willing to answer any questions if you get stuck with anything or get confused with anything.
Absolutely. So thank you guys. We will see
Have a
you
great
next week. Bye.
Bye.